Well, first of all, congratulations. I got to see the movie last night. It was really fun. I think obviously the audience had a great time. Were you pleased with the reception?
No, I was really pleased. Look, it's always, I don't know other directors, but I'll tell you, this is my most nervous evening is the premiere. It just is. You've seen your movie finished for 6 months. You've seen 5,000 times the editing bay and all that stuff. But when you somehow put 500-600 people in an audience, you got to come out and say, "Here's my movie." You can't run away from it. I mean, there it is. That screen opens up. That projector rolls. It's all, you put it up there, so you like it or you don't. So luckily, it's a great feel-good movie, and it ends on a kind of a high, and you get the sort of response we had. No, I'm happy to have done it, but honestly, too, I'm happy that we're moving right on, and the movie's about to open. So it felt great here, and I'm glad it was right here at the KiMo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it must have been a little strange doing it in front of the people you were portraying.
Yeah, I think that was
representing in the movie.
No, that's a good question, but it felt really good because we got to know them. Faith Conroy, who I wrote the piece with, we spent a lot of time with these guys, whether at meals, sleeping at their house. I mean, Mark Allen had us over as guests all the time down in Roswell. Leonard I flew with back to Kentucky. Chip Woolley I'm hanging out in the mornings having coffee with, talking horses all the time. So this felt, as I started off my little chit-chat, was that this is a homecoming. And that was the difference with having somehow a premiere in LA. I look around, I've got my lawyer and my agent, that's about it. But here, these are my friends. We made it with the crew and the cast, and this was a New Mexico story. So it felt so comfortable talking to everybody here.
How was that for you, Christian? Mark was here last night, wasn't he?
He was here last night.
What did he say to you?
Well, I mean, listen, when I first was hired to play Mark Allen, Jim hired me, and I'm in. So, I mean, it could have gone a different way, but he gave me a thumbs up. And that was what I needed to get going. And then when the film was done, Mark had seen it, and he called me. I was filming in Portland, Oregon, and he called me and he said, "Man, I tell you what, man, you did a good job. I'm proud of this thing." And I went, "That's the thumbs up I'm waiting for. That's my Academy Award right there, because I'm playing somebody.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. This chapter of my life wouldn't exist." And so when he gives me the thumbs up twice, A, you can play me, and B, you did a good job. Yeah. I went all the way around the board, and it was funny last night because Mark was right behind me when we were watching the film. Now, I've seen it before, and he's seen it before. I read the script, and I shot the movie.
Yeah.
But at some point, I can't believe I'm going to tell this. I'm going to tell the story. So I'm sitting there, and every time, man, when Calvin hits the time Calvin hits the rail, my eyes start getting too big for my head. You know what I mean? Like I start watering up because it's a tearjerker, and it's a happy tearjerker, which is strange. And I had like a little drop right here, and Mark Allen's right there, and I was like, I'm playing him. He's a tough and rough cowboy. I can't see him. So Skeet was sitting right here next to me, and I swear, I went over, I go, "Dude, that was a great scene, dude." And I used his jacket to wipe that tear, because if it would have fell, Mark would have been like, "What's wrong with that boy?" So I was like, but it gets me every time, and it was fun. And when the credits were rolling, I reached back like this, and I shook his hand, and he got out of his chair and put both hands on mine. So I went across the board. As long as he's happy, I'm the happiest man in the world.
Yeah, good. Well, Madelyn, you played a fictional character for this movie, but you had a different kind of, your mom was here in the audience watching, Leah Thompson, who many know, particularly Back in the Future, but many movies and TV things over the years. What's it like showing, having your mom watch you perform?
Well, I work with my mom. I mean, literally, I'd probably be the worst actor in the history of the human race if it wasn't for my mother. She's an unbelievable artist, not just as an actress, but like, she's a painter, and she's like, she just has amazing taste and can decorate a house and bake a cake and ride a unicycle and have children, and she's just
really good looking.
She's really good looking.
We all were in love with her. And,
yeah. I know, everyone keeps going, "I have a crush on your mom," and I'm like, "Me too, that's really weird, sorry." But she's really more of like my mentor as far as acting goes, so I'm just more excited to see kind of, her, not notes, I don't want to call it notes, but like what she has to say about my, performance, because it's really a learning, it's really a learning thing, and I had only ever done 2 very small films before I did this one, so I was really green. I was really lucky they hired me, and I was really lucky that people like Skeet and Christian were like hyper generous with me, really patient, were never like, "Oh God, she's so, she's such a noob."
Yeah.
So I really was incredibly lucky, and I had my mom. We would Skype every night, and so she went through the process with me, so I wasn't so nervous about that. I was actually more nervous for my sister to see it because she's a really incredible actress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I wanted to talk to you, about the independent film business these days, and although the definition of that is kind of is pretty elastic at this point, I think 50 to 1 pretty much qualifies as an independent production. What were you up against in getting this film made?
Well, I'll tell you, that's the problem when you finally decide you're passionate about something, which I was about getting this thing launched. I can't stop. Once you kind of get it in your, in your system, you say you've got to make this film. So I did do what I normally do, which is I finished a screenplay and I then go to the studios. And I've had great relationships with studios.
Sure.
Made a lot of movies with these guys. So took it to them, and I'll tell you, this was about the fastest no I've ever received from everybody across the board. I mean, I got no second phone call. It was one, thank you, Jim, and don't call me back. I mean, honestly, across the board. And all it takes is, if you get 3 or 4 no's, you don't need to continue. They're one of the same. I mean, all honesty, it's a numbers game. I know what they do. They have their little plugs. They check all the little boxes. If you get all the boxes, you're in. But I wasn't about to check their boxes. It just wasn't going to happen. So that being said, then you can do one of 2 things. You can say, you know what, I don't really want to give 2 years of my life to this, or I'm in, and I'm committed. So I said, let's go raise the money. So the very next step in an independent filmmaker's thing is before you can cast everybody or go out there and raise your hands is say, I've got to raise the money. So, and before you do that, you got to know how much do I raise. So now I've got to start a whole budget process. So, I mean, I could take you through every bit of it, but yeah, the biggest obstacle, obviously, for a lot of filmmakers is everyone's got a screenplay. Everybody's got a good idea for a story. We make one up every day. But can you put the funds together to make the film?
So instead of spending 2 years, you spent 3.
I spent 3. Yeah, this took a little longer.
That's average, though. I mean, that's not even like you meet. I mean, even look at Darren Aronofsky had Black Swan. It took him 10 years to get that film made, and he's Darren Aronofsky. Like, he's not Joe Schmo. Like Jim is like a very renowned and respected producer and artist, and it's like it's just kind of so weird. It's whatever's in vogue. And if you're not in vogue, right, then at that exact moment, it's like, well, we don't want you. But that's what's amazing about independent films is it's sort of allowing things that are a little more off the mark to get made, that wouldn't have before.
Well, not only that, but I mean, you take 10 years to make this movie. It's still going to be a great movie. It's just not going to be as fresh. I mean, we filmed this thing, a true story, 3 years after it happened. It's been 5 now, but we filmed it 3 years after it happened. I mean, they're on cell phones. We weren't doing this in the 90s. We're looking at beepers. I mean, they had technology. They're looking at computers. I mean, it just would have lost a lot of stuff. It's such a great story to tell. You want to tell it immediately, at that time.
Well, Jim, you felt strongly enough about it. You actually put some of your own money into this, right?
I did put some of my own money, and I had 4 other backers, so there's really 5 of us doing it, and the budget was $8.5 million. So it's not like you're just throwing little coins around. I mean, this was a big deal to me. So it's $8.5 million. And so as a producer, I put that hat on. I watch every dollar very closely. I can tell you that. I always do in every movie, so I shouldn't tell the other guys I don't. But yeah, I'm one of the 5.
Yeah. So by today's standards, even $8.5 million is a small movie.
Well, by Hollywood standards,
Actually, no.
It's not.
This is almost a big budget movie.
It's okay.
Well, in
It's
the
a bigger
independent
indie.
world,
It's
in the independent world, it's a
definitely
very
bigger.
well-funded movie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously, in the Hollywood world, it's minuscule. I mean, the average film is what, $80-90 million.
Well, but that's
for a
the
Hollywood
weird
picture.
thing.
Well,
Is
that's
it's so separate. There's like this big glass of milk and then a little bit of the cream on top, and the cream is like Transformers, where the budget is $200,
Right.
$300 million, and then
Right.
I mean, I've done a lot of films for $250,000, and let me tell you, it's not fun. It's really hard, and it. You can't even get a Coca-Cola. Like, you don't even ask for much, but it's a struggle. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask you. Obviously, you had a pretty tight production schedule.
We did.
You had a lot of travel. Had lots of locations. Was there any point? And this usually happens with most independent filmmakers, but any point during the production where you're going, we're in trouble?
It wasn't the case because I prepped so hard. I really do. So I spend a lot of time on budgets. I like my budget. I mean, I love doing budgets, actually. So I spent a lot of time looking at locations and putting down how much we had for every category. And there wasn't a point where I said, oh my God, I'm in deep trouble. It was a 40-day schedule. We shot it in 40 days in 3 states. We shot every scene. A piece of every scene is still in the movie. It's the first time I've ever done a film. There's 202 scenes Faith and I wrote. and there's a piece of every scene. We didn't even throw out one scene in editorial. So it's about as tight as you can go. There's not a scene gone, guys.
That's crazy.
Did we lose anyone in your scenes? No?
I don't think so. Actually, it's funny that you
Not-
say
not
that
one of
because
yours?
My nude scene didn't make it.
Well, that's true, but that's,
Right, yeah.
You know, but we're also fortunate. You're talking about doing independent film, and it's a great person to talk to. We probably might be one of the best you can talk to, but we actually have a blockbuster director who
Yeah.
directed.
And
It's
it
a little bit of a
was-
hybrid
at
sort
one
of.
of the highest budgets for
And it
independent
might
film,
have
yeah,
been an
so.
independent film, but like Jim really treated us so well. You know, they fed us, like the caterers were amazing. There were actually bathrooms. The crew was wonderful.
You won't
you
see it
know?
on screen. You won't see
Yeah.
it on
Everything
screen.
you need
I mean,
is
you know,
there.
you can
Yeah.
say independent,
But that makes a
you can't see it
difference.
on screen. This thing looks like a 25 million.
Yeah, it does.
Well, let me ask you guys as actors, indies are a great opportunity and a risk. I mean, lots of things can happen. The movies may or may not get made or finished, or you can look bad, you can look good. What made you, Christian, want to take the leap into doing 50 to 1?
Well, that's two different questions. I mean, when
Okay.
you're asking about, I mean, like I said, the lead for 50 to 1 is that when I first got the script and I knew what happened, and I read it, and I was just like, and most scripts are about 120 pages. I was on about 115, and I was like, this must be a different story. I mean, he must not win in this one. It was just because I was like, there's no way he's coming back this far, because I didn't know the whole story.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I was like, I'm literally reading the script to Rocky. I mean, all three of these guys were 50 to 1, not just the horse, all of them. And I was like, this is what you want to be a part of. And then also, because it's a true story, it hits you hard, you know what I mean? And also, I saw a character in there named Mark Allen, who I play, that was, that wouldn't have been a stretch for me. Back in the day, he liked to drink a little bit, he liked to get in the bar fight, and I had my fair share of both of those things. And so I was like, I may be able to coast through this without, you know, on the acting side, and then really work on hitting the emotion of this thing, hitting the lines the way I want to. I don't have to develop a character because I've already got it, you know. And so I pretty much begged Jim mostly to give me this role.
There you go. There you go. Madelyn, you played Alex, the exercise trainer, and irritant to trainer Chip Woolley throughout. It was nice how you guys played off of each other. Same question for you. What was the appeal of getting into a production like this?
I mean, you're just really lucky. I was really lucky to get the job, period, you know. But I've ridden horses my whole life. Since I was 4 years old, I was a show jumper, and I showed the circuit nationally. So I am, a professional rider on some level. So, I read the script, and I thought, there's literally no way I will get a callback, or even like a mini callback, or ever hear from them again. And then they made me sweat it out for like 3 weeks. It was horrible. And then they actually did call me back, and I had a flight to New York that day, and they said, can you push it? And I thought, okay, well, this is terrifying. And I actually wore my half shaps and my spurs into the audition. And had my gloves in my pocket, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just really give it to them. So I also brought a picture of me jumping, because I thought a lot of actors say they ride, and it's a straight up lie. So I brought a picture of me riding, and I don't know, I guess it went well. They hired me, so I hope they're happy.
We couldn't have done the film without you.
I'd say we're happy. We have every one of your scenes in the movie.
So
So,
great.
yeah.
I think I emailed Jim, actually. I said, you know, whoever you're going to hire, just put him in a room and I'll fight him. Whoever wins
Yeah,
wins
I
the
think
role.
so.
Yeah.
No, you were not leaving that room without the part.
No,
I mean, it's true.
no.
Do the scene and go, I can do this again, watch this. And
Yeah.
I had Ray Faith was with me as well, and he's like, you know what? I like what we've seen. Nah, man, I can do more. And I said, I don't know that you can. I liked what I saw. No, let me show you.
Literally
you know,
beat the dead horse. I apologize. I'm
Anyway,
sorry. I wanted the role, man. and
Shit,
got
well,
it,
I
so.
can tell. I like people who want the roles too. So
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back to the original question. You're an accomplished director. You guys had a killer script, a story,
Yeah.
and you couldn't get anybody interested. What does that say about the state of the movie business these
Yeah,
days?
I think it's a rugged state, and not just to take hours. I mean, again, you guys are alluding to it. It's kind of the way the industry is. Because if you look at, where 90% of the money is going to be spent by the industry in the next decade, it's very obvious. Every sequel on Earth, everything that's already pre-branded. I just looked down the litany. My daughter was working at Fox briefly, and she said, Dad, here's the next 26 movies that Fox is making. One was an original story. One out of 26. 25 you've heard of. 25.
That's
So if you go on
horrible.
whatever your thing is, IMDb these days, or look up and see the 20, most anticipated movies of next year, all 20 are sequels. All 20. So you have, or the best known book, or they're
As
pre-branded.
a screenwriter myself, that's sad to hear.
No, shocking. And I'm telling you, it's probably 95% of the money, to tell you the truth. It's the safe bet. Every studio executive I send this to, they don't want to get fired. And so if they make this movie and it doesn't work, if this is a bomb, let the independent take that shot. But I'm not going to. I'm Larry, I'm at the studio, I'm going to do it. Because I bring them, Maleficent, or I bring them Avatar 5, 6, 7, and Do Me 9, 10, 11. It's if they fall apart, I'm okay, because I have reason to believe it could work. And so just to take a shot and let their poor heart talk, forget it.
Well, what do
Doesn't happen.
you think personally you'll ever be back in that part of the industry? Will you be
Highly
doing-
unlikely. I
You
think it's
really?
highly unlikely. Yeah, I've kind of had my run, I think, with the studios, and I'm not terribly keen on it. And so, unless they gave you complete autonomy and a proper budget, and then you'd say, yeah, then you're back in. You'd do it. But for the most part, obviously, I had as much fun making this. You have the freedom of doing what we've done, but it's got to work to a degree. Or else
Yeah.
financially, I can't afford to keep doing
Yeah.
this. So.
Well, I read a piece, I think it was in Salon recently, and somebody was talking about how the independent film industry has just exploded, and in fact, maybe too many independent films were being made. Back in the early '90s, maybe 250 to 300 a year were called independent. Now, this story said there were 7,000 independent movies
Right.
made. So you're not only you're getting it from one end, but you're up against a ton of stuff out there.
Well, you are. And look, I take my hat off anyone who can make an independent film, Godspeed. It's great to do. I don't care if there's 7,000, 10,000, it's great. Again, 95% of them are all losing money. I mean, as a business, there's, 1 in 20 makes their money back. I mean, it's extremely rare that those independents do. They can be shown on video on demand now. There's some other markets, obviously the internet, everybody's trying to figure out a way to exploit it. But very, very few of those movies make their money back.
It's the internet, man. The same thing's happening in the music industry. I mean, you don't need a big label anymore to be a star. I mean, it's just how it is. So, and a lot of people take their money and put it into that, and it doesn't work out. And God bless them. But it's like the internet has changed the world.
Yeah.
Especially
Well,
for us.
how is it for you guys as actors? More opportunities, less opportunities? What's the landscape look like?
It's weird. It's always different. I mean, like, there's certain things that are just a total blessing. Like, 20 years ago, there was no such thing as a self-tape. You couldn't really put yourself on tape and send it into someone like Skeet did to audition for Jim. You'd have to go to your agent, have them tape you, put it on VHS, send it. By the time it gets to them, the movie is done. You know what I mean? And now you can really audition I do voiceover auditions on my phone and send it to my agency. I mean, there's all kinds of really cool stuff like that. And there's a lot more platforms to put things on, and it's really easy and user-friendly, but also because of that, the glass is a lot more fogged, and it takes a little bit extra to kind of scrub through and see what's actually quality.
Right.
You can feel the squeeze. I mean, it's 10 years ago, there were a lot of television series you could do. Pilot season was huge. They were making movies it felt like it's actually like they were going out of style. Now what you've got is that studios aren't willing to take that risk anymore, so there's less and less movies being filmed, which is tough. The Halle Berrys, the Lawrence Fishburnes, the Dustin Hoffmans into television.
Yeah.
So used to, you graduated. There was a thing. You did something great, and you did this, then you had your own series, then you did a movie, and then you were a big, that was the steps that you took.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore. It's all the way across the board. It can happen. But there are fewer and fewer jobs. And 15 years ago when I got off the bus, so to speak, we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and there was a chance. It was still winning the lottery. You have to understand.
Yeah.
And you only get one shot, because when they call your name, you better be ready, because
Yeah.
chances are you're not going to get your name called, and if they do, it's definitely not going to happen twice.
Yeah.
But I would say, everybody's saying, follow your dreams, and we're waiting on you in Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. And I would say, if you can't live without it, if this is not the only thing you really want to do in life, and if you're not willing to give 110%, and give up everything, sometimes family, sometimes relationships, sometimes money, mostly money, don't do it. Don't come out, because it's a tough job. You have to be able to not breathe without the passion in your life. I think that goes for anything, but with this, it's really starting to narrow down. You can feel the walls kind of coming in. So So that means, saying that, we're even more fortunate to
But
be
it's
sitting on stage with Jim Wilson right now. We have a movie out there.
Jim, well, we got to wrap up here in a minute,
Yeah.
but Jim, is there anything hopeful to tell young filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers? Should they continue or look to be an accountant?
No, I think too what Christian said is true. If this isn't your total passion, I mean, I am afraid there's so many students coming through the system these days. Oh, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a film major, oh my God, we're graduating hundreds of thousands of these. The jobs are not there, obviously, for them. The market is not growing that big. So unless you really have more than just a taste for this, a life for this, then I wouldn't jump in this. On the flip side, I'm a huge optimist. I think the world is your oyster. If you're a brilliant filmmaker, you can get out there with 5, 10, 20 grand, make your movie, and have it be seen. There's more festivals than ever popping up. I mean, friends of mine started one in Turkey last week. It's everywhere in the world. So the access is there, and I do believe the cream rise to the top. So I think if you're the next, your next Spielberg or Lucas or whoever you dig, I think it's there. So I don't mean to keep anyone's dream ever down, but I think reality-wise, I think it's not gotten easier, but it's there. So you just gotta.
But also
And by the way,
for-
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying, don't follow your dreams. I do want you to follow your dreams. I'm just saying, if somebody told me after this movie I'd have to live in a tent for 10 years before my next film, I would do it because this is what I love and this is my passion. Yeah.
But
Or a
also
bus.
for
Or bus.
Or a bus.
or a bus. Also for young people though, really quickly, I mean, I'm gonna be 23 on Sunday,
Yeah.
I haven't really been doing this for that long, but I wrote a film right after we wrapped this one last year, and the kind of reception I've gotten over it, I've never written any other screenplay before, but there's something about being kind of younger and doing this right now that is exciting to people, because I think there used to be a little bit more of a system that was in place, and sort of your elders were taken more seriously, and I think it's exciting for me because I do think the youth is being taken a little more seriously now because the industry's so scattered, and it's exciting because no one says no. I mean, I write a screenplay, I bring it to people, and they go, that's actually kind of good, and she's 22 and whatever, but we'll take it because there aren't that many people that are bringing original material now, so there's a lot more room for people who are younger and greener, and they'll do it, in a lot of ways.
Well, I want to thank you guys, Jim Wilson, Christian Kane, Madelyn Deutch, for joining us on Behind the Scenes today, and good luck with this film.
Hey, thank you.
I hope it's a blockbuster.
Thanks a lot.
for
I
having me.
appreciate
Thanks for
it.
coming last night to see
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.